Hey everyone, I'm Mark.
And I'm Casey.
And I'm Patrick.
And today, Moto is here too. But also today, we're going to talk a little bit about this on all hands meeting that Elon hosted, and a little bit talk about casting and what can be coming for Tesla in the future. But first, Casey's going to roll that title.
404, show not found.
You're watching the Tesla Life Express.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. Today we want to touch on this article from Teslarati recently that talks a little bit about this all hands meeting that happened Q1 of 2025, just recently, where Elon was discussing with the group that was present about, I guess, what you would call maybe stretching the limits of what Tesla can do and what they will do in the future, especially as it relates to the CyberCab. As we know, there's going to be a number of CyberCabs start into production. We're going to, at some point, Tesla's aiming to produce over 2 million cabs annually. And at that number, of course, Musk indicated that this would be done at more than one factory, but of course things are going to start at Gigafactory. But in order to get to that type of number, we're talking about a CyberCab needs to be produced about every 5 seconds. And he indicated that that is so fast, it's going to be even difficult for humans to get close to the production line because the vehicles are moving that quickly. Now, we've heard about this kind of stuff in the past. We've heard about so much is automated and robotic that humans wouldn't even need to be on the line whatsoever. That the factory basically could run with no lights on because there's no light needed. We've heard about this kind of stuff, but if you are pushing for 2 million CyberCabs annually, let's keep in mind that Tesla still hasn't hit 2 million vehicles at all yet. They come close with like a 1.8 to 1.9, but they've never done 2 million. So now we're talking about a brand new vehicle that's going to push 2 million itself.
Gotta double them with one vehicle.
That's right. That's right. And Elon talked a little bit more about how this CyberCab every 5 seconds would require that Tesla is going to have to rethink the actual assembly of a vehicle completely, because this is, in order to get up to that type of speed, to get that amount produced, you've got to start piecing the vehicle together in teams, in boxes, they're calling it, where it can be produced in different parts of the factory independently. And then as it starts to make its way closer to the finishing, these pieces, these puzzle pieces come in and attach, and the line just keeps moving. So there's no having to wait for a certain function to be performed, because in your box you're just doing 3 or 4 tasks. That's all you do, and that's all that the automation does, is push that vehicle to complete that task and then move it along, and then it's assembled later as they move down the line. Not like today, where there's a lot of assembly and even disassembly, such as in the painting, for example, where you're getting vehicles that have to be assembled, then disassembled, go through paint, and then reassembled after paint. They're looking to cut out those type of redundancies and improve the efficiency by having them all done at once and then seamlessly put together near the end as it exits the line.
Yeah, and this is pretty cool. Anytime you can do more in parallel, you're going to be more efficient. And if you have it split up into a front section, middle section, rear section, and you can start working on all of those independently, maybe to the point where it doesn't even matter which ones, like today you have to make sure that the reason that it's put together to be painted and then disassembled is so that those exact ones that went through the paint factory at the same time can get back together. But if you're instead infusing the color into the body panels and you have it much more uniform, where it doesn't have to be the exact same moment that they went through the paint shop, that could mean that you don't care. You just you can do all three in parallel and then bolt them together at the end, and you're done.
Yeah. Yep. Or if you paint them at all, then you can do it at least without taking the doors off after you put them on again.
Mm-hmm.
Another interesting part of this meeting was about the actual casting of vehicles. Now, of course, we know that the Giga castings out there are allowing liquid metal to be injected into a mold and pressed at extreme high temperature and weight, 9 tons in some cases, to create an actual frame or part of a frame that's then ejected and then used in the production cycle. They were talking about, okay, how can we make this go faster? Is it possible that we could have maybe a 50-ton machine that would punch out not just one, but multiple frames at the same time?
Mm.
They likened it to a matchbox factory where their molds would hold over 100 of these cars, the same car, and it would produce it with the same mold, all the metal being injected into it. Is it possible that they could scale that up to the size of an actual real car size? And of course, the size would be monstrous based on what is out there today. But they're looking at how do we get to a point where we can produce a car every 5 seconds. We can't just have our normal Giga casting. We're going to have to stretch the limits of how those Giga casts work and how much speed we can push up or how much volume we can add to the system in order for it to get to that 2 million a year total.
One cool thing we've seen with the the current largest Giga press in the world is they already do part of the unbox process now with the whole of the middle of the interior is built up on top of the battery pack. So right. Imagine taking that even further, and this is going to be interesting to watch it unfold. And we've already seen several of the Chinese plants have started, not just the Tesla ones, but several of the Chinese competitors have started this, and some of the non-Chinese competitors have done their legacy. Oh, let's get castings, but they're not doing castings the way that these Chinese companies and Tesla are doing them. They're sticking a toe in the water for this new technology.
In fact, based on Tesla's lead in this area, as mentioned, there are many different competitors that are now getting involved in this casting with liquid metal, and that's causing the small amount of companies that actually produce these Goliath-sized machines. It's putting a backlog out there that if you want one of these Giga casting machines, you're into a longer than normal wait because there are more and more competitors that are implementing them as part of their plans for production for the future.
So the story, the way that I heard it, was that when Tesla first had the idea that they wanted to do this, they called all the massive press companies, and there's only like 3 of them, and 2 of them said that's not possible, and one said maybe. And the one that said maybe worked with Tesla to figure out how to make it happen. Hydra, I think, is their name. Yep. And so whoever worked at those first 2 companies that said just no, I bet you they're kicking themselves right about now when everybody's knocking on Hydra's door saying, hey, you know that thing you did for Tesla? We want some of those too. And they've got to be tens of millions of dollars for these presses. And then ongoing stamps and other stuff from them and maintenance contracts and whatever else they get. Like you said, Hydra's got a backlog now, and the other 2 companies are crying in their beer.
and not only that, but it was to the point where a Chinese company went and bought Hydra, so that they actually are under Chinese ownership now because they wanted to make sure they had their access. So they bought the whole company. It's like a wholly owned subsidiary. It's still in Italy, still does its thing, but if the boss says
that's one way to to get at the front of the line is you buy the whole company, and for whatever reason, this guy's orders that come in, they get pushed to the front of the line. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, and Tesla's done that same game with Groman Engineering when they wanted to build their factory, build the Dreadnought and have automation and all this other stuff. They were not first in line with that company, so they bought the company, and now it's Tesla Automation Germany or whatever.
Exactly.
And that one just bought last week. It bought a bankrupt company in Germany, so now it's grown in terms of staff and IP.
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting that again, this is forward thinking. What they're looking at here, forward projections as to how big they want to be, and of course, Tesla has always maybe they run ahead of the ball in certain cases where they're pushing the limits at all times. They know that they're not going to achieve those goals out of that gate, but if they don't set goals, they feel that they are losing some of the forward momentum that they could gain by not doing that. So it makes sense that they are always overshooting the goal and trying to promote to their employees that let's always be pushing. Let's reach for the sky, reach for the stars. We know we're not going to reach them, but come on, if we don't reach, we're not going to get ahead of the game.
Right. They don't rest on their laurels.
A good example is the dry cathodes. They were subpar when they came out, to say the least, but they're obviously well enough now that they're making a profit on them. The cost is where they need it to be, to the point they're now working on either trying to purchase dry anodes or going to do it themselves. And it looks like they're going to go dual pronged and then just cancel the one that is slower.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting for those that are watching. Where do you think Tesla could gain with this boxed type assembly? What advancements do you think a Giga casting could stretch to 10 or 100 cars that it could punch out at once? Obviously, the size would be ginormous, but where do you think that they could gain some of the speed that they're absolutely looking to gain? Put it in the comments. Let us know. We'd be interested to see what your thoughts are out there.
Absolutely.
And for that, let's move on to shoutouts. Casey, what do you got for us?
Well, coming up on Sunday, you've got my show. Let's chat with Casey and friends over on youtube.com/CaseyGreen or x.com/gcustom. And that happens at about 1:10 p.m. Eastern. Like we mentioned on the live show this week, I got a new addition to the family, so it was already variable by a couple minutes, depending on what this one and what the computer wanted to do. It might be a little bit more variable than that. Then coming up on Monday, we've got the Tesla Life Express Edition 2. So if you like this, we're going to have another subject. This one's coming from our friend Patrick at carswithcords.net. And I think that it will be a rousing discussion. And we'd like to see you there. And then on Wednesday, catch us back here live.
Absolutely. Patrick, any shout-outs?
Sure. Quickly, I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net, where I write about my future free from fossil fuels. Thanks.
And as mentioned, we'll be talking about Patrick's article on Monday, so don't miss that. And with that, we will get together next time, and together we will find out what's happening in the Tesla life. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye.